He's about to return to boxing, and I think this could be two of the biggest name fights he's had in his entire career, and could be, at least in professional boxing, the two biggest paydays he's had also. Wilder has just won against Chisora, which really sets up a massive fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Now, AJ is coming back and Wilder is coming into a period where he's had a win. He's come back from the losing streak he's had, but also he doesn't look the same. He doesn't look like the bronze bomber of old, which could mean he is considered as a warm-up fight for AJ before the Tyson Fury fight, which will push, if AJ wins, push the narrative and the glitz, glamour and stage of the Tyson Fury fight massively up, with a massive name for AJ on his wins in his career, onto his retirement maybe after the two fights happen. These are two of the biggest names ever, Wilder and Tyson Fury. He's likely getting the Tyson Fury fight as his second fight. I think AJ's always going to want to warm up, and that'll be key to consider, that he needs that coming back after a long layoff and all the things that have happened. He needs a warm-up to see where he is. That could easily be Wilder, and he's touted to be Wilder. And the Fury fight, yeah, look, everyone's saying it's not signed. I mean, it's the biggest kept secret in boxing at the minute. They're talking. It's probably going to get signed at some point. It's the biggest payday for both fighters, and they're both getting towards that retirement age. So if they don't make it now, how long have they got to make it? I don't think they have. I think if it doesn't get made now, it never gets made. And I think that will bring both to the table. And really, is this going to be, if AJ wins both fights, is this the biggest wins that he's had in his career on his record? He's got some great wins, but has he really beat two names like Wilder and Fury? Okay, Klitschko, yeah, you could say he's definitely up there, and he's definitely up as one of his best wins, but really, I'd say they definitely will be. That two-fight comeback could be bigger for his career than any of his other fights previously. That is a clear message from me, is that Wilder might not look like he did before. The name is still there. Tyson Fury may not, in this next fight, look like he did before either, but his name is still there. And to be honest, they do still, both of them, generate some of the biggest paydays in the sport. And Fury versus AJ will be one of the biggest paydays for both fighters ever seen in boxing. If it's done in the UK, that sells out instantly and sells worldwide instantly. On pay-per-view, on whatever they'll do it on, I think there'll be pay-per-view, but they can generate massive figures and massive money in that fight. I think what we've got to see is, though, in Fury's next fight, which is coming up very, very soon this weekend, how does Fury look? Does he look good? If he looks good and solid, okay, that calls into question, look, AJ's going to have a tough time here. And then we've got to see, look, you've got to have a warm-up fight, AJ. Let's see how you do in probably a few months' time. Fury looks bad, slow, sluggish, hasn't been working as hard as he probably needs to at his age in the gym. He needs to be working harder than he ever has before to show that, look, he's back, he's up for it, he's still up there at top of the game in the heavyweight division, still rooting around the top. If he looks bad, I think it turns into look, AJ beats Wilder, and then he's coming for Fury. And I think AJ may, if I had to guess anything from these fights that are coming up, AJ will beat Wilder decisively in that first fight if that happens. And it will be very, very a very clear win. He probably will even get him out of there, I'd say. And I think what we'll see from Fury in the next fight coming up this weekend against Makhmudov is he may win, but it's so close. It's so couple round. He probably wins by 3 or 4 rounds, but It looks slow. He could even win larger margin, but it looks slow. He looks lethargic. He hasn't been working as hard as Jimmy probably needs to. The speed's gone. The ability's not as there. But again, he's a top tier boxer and he's been at the top of the game. So even his lower level will probably beat Makhmudov. But Makhmudov could get a punch on him. Look, we saw against Ngannou how much he struggled. He struggled with a big hand, and AJ got him out of there fully, easily against Ngannou. I think, I think this is the most I've thought AJ will win both top fights since he got beat by Andy Ruiz. I think the Andy Ruiz fight really changed the perspective and really changed my mind on his fights. It was very tough to push AJ's the guy who's going to win. Against Dubois, we saw that was painful. But he still hit him. He still hit Dubois. But does AJ come back into this fight and think, yeah, I can do both. I can get both out of there. I can win both at least. I think he does. And I think he has a very good chance at doing so. I think that is key. He has a very good chance at doing so. Wilder is out of the game. He's not the bronze bomber anymore. He's not even getting Chisora out of there. That is a crushing thing for him. That he has one thing. He had one thing against AJ to win. Even throughout his career, AJ would outbox him 12 rounds out of 12. But Wilder had the one equaliser. If he touched you with that hand, you were going out and you were staying down. And he'd get the KO. Now, he hasn't got that. I think he hurt Chisora, and Chisora's got a decent enough chin for sure. I think a very good chin. But the Wilder of old wouldn't have took more than one shot to do that. And it was messy. It wasn't Wilder of old. It wasn't clean. It was very messy. Messi were fighting partially because of Chisora wanting to make that happen in a fight like that. But also because Wilder couldn't push on his game plan against a fighter who he should be quite easily beaten if he was still at the top of his game. For Tyson Fury, I think he's come back into boxing after another retirement. I think he's doing his training clearly, but I think what you see is not prime Fury for sure, and you don't expect him to. But I expected something better. If he was from the images, the videos you see, I think you're gonna see a more sluggish Fury in there. And look, to be honest, Makhmudov could do it. I think he could. He's a hard-hitting heavyweight, and it only takes a second or a loss of concentration or a lack of motivation in camp where you're eating what you want and doing what you want and not living as an athlete at the top level of boxing to get hit. And the sluggishness, once you get hit, will cause you a problem. Getting back into the fight becomes a real issue once you're firstly sluggish going in, and then once you've had the fight, you get hit, you go down, getting back up and recovering becomes very, very difficult. And look, do I feel Fury should have come back? For me, I think an AJ fight is incredible viewing. And as a fan, yes, of course I want to see it. And I want to see it, and it's going to be incredible. And it's a fight we always wanted. But for Fury, as a fighter, do I think this comeback is going to hurt his legacy? For sure. Because I think it's going to answer the question. And it's going to question his career that who was the best in the UK? Who was the best UK fighter? Was it AJ, was it Fury? That question has always been asked. And I think, to be honest, Fury was the better fighter. If I'm very honest, Fury was the better fighter. But it does call into question if he gets beat by AJ now and he retires, which he probably will. I don't see anything else for him. Once an AJ fight happens, I think he just has to stop. That has to be a calling from people, that his teams and things, look, that's enough now. But I think it does hurt his legacy. I think the fact in his prime and in AJ's prime, when the fight should have happened, Fury beats him. And quite decisively, I think he does that. But what I think now is Tyson isn't living as an athlete. AJ still is. And when you get a bit older and you're getting towards retirement, that makes all the difference in the world. And I think we can tell Fury isn't living as an athlete. he's working out, but he's not putting all the efforts into his diet and into his fitness. And I think that will show in this Makhmudov fight. And I think if he goes on, he will lose to AJ. And I think it will be by knockout. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think AJ's 2 fights that he's coming back for and that he may retire afterwards from, do you think they're the best fights he could have on his career? I think that them 2 names back to back makes his CV, his career history, looking back when he retires, incredibly more decisive than they are now. And they are definitely back to back the 2 biggest names on his history of wins if he wins them, especially for his generation. That would be key. He beat 2 of the best in his own generation, and it wasn't Klitschko who was getting towards retirement. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.